Welcome to today's Arborist Call. Today's the 9th of January, 2025. Happy New Year, everyone. The agenda for today's meeting is as follows. We'll start off with some updates from the ECCM Foundation's core development teams. We will then take some time to discuss Zcash deprecation, research and implementation updates on the listed projects, and then we will have a discussion on NU7. If there's any time, we will open the floor to participants to make any announcements that might be of interest to the community. And then if there's any more time, we can also cover any other discussion topics. So what is the Arborist Call? The Arborist Call is a bi-weekly call where Zcash protocol contributors meet up to discuss upgrade timelines and process, protocol research and development efforts, design and implementation of new protocol features, and we identify blockers and unresolved issues. And the purpose of this call is to try to make Zcash protocol development accessible to interested parties and to provide more transparency for everyone. If you want to attend, you can register at zcasharborist.org. And if you want to become more involved and present during this call, you can email us at arboristcall@zfnd.org, and you can request a presentation slot and we will schedule you in. Outside of the Arborist Call, you can also participate in the Zcash community in a number of ways. You can apply to one of the grant programs, or you can take part in community discussions either in the Zcash R&D Discord or the Zcash Community Forum. And there are clickable links for all of these at zcasharborist.org. Okay, so today we will start with some updates on Zebra from the Zcash Foundation's engineering team. And I think that will be Marek today.
Yep. We migrated the JSON RPC server to a new framework because the original one that we were using is not developed anymore. We implemented a transaction verification optimization where we don't verify a transaction that comes in a new block if the transaction is in the mempool already. So basically, we don't re-verify transactions. And the last bit is that we updated the get block and get raw transaction RPCs so that they match Zcashd more closely, and we fixed a bunch of bugs in the get raw transaction RPC. That's about it.
Okay. Thank you, Marek. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Marek? Okay. I'm not sure I'm seeing anyone from the ECC on the call for the ECC updates. But anyone want to give an update on that? Otherwise, we'll have to move them to the end or later on. Okay, I think we'll have to move on for today. Don't know if I've gone a bit fast and we've, but yeah, let's move on. Zcash deprecation updates. We'll start off with Zaino. Is there anyone? Yeah,
I was checking that out and there's no one, so I'm pinging them. I guess that maybe people haven't re-registered. They don't have on their calendars the new events.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just checking on Discord also. I haven't seen any questions. Well, we can try to move on with some Zcash deprecation updates from some of the other people. Maybe, Paul, could you mind starting on ecosystem outreach, maybe?
Yes. The last few weeks have been a little bit slow, but anyway, I've been nudging and pinging some people. we're trying to get a hold of CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko and those kind of API providers. I've reached through the official channels, but they say they have already put up a disclaimer on the support form that they take a long time to respond. So it's probably sure that they will. If anyone knows someone from those two companies and can provide a direct contact that might help us to reach them out, it will be much appreciated. And we're sending out a form currently to gather feedback instead of the email, but we are also offering sending the email if they don't like the Google form. And yeah, there hasn't been much movement there, but yes, we got a few responses, but nothing too outstanding. We eventually expect that it will get better after the holidays, like from now on.
So have we had any responses on the Google form?
On the form, I don't think so. I hadn't checked this week, honestly. But
I don't know
until
if I get
last
the
week, we haven't.
responses. Okay.
Yes, we should see them directly on the form, on the responses tab of the Google form document. Yeah, I haven't checked this week about it.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Paco. Do we have any Zcash deprecation, any further Zcash deprecation updates on the Zebra side? Maybe Marek or Aria. You probably covered that in the Zebra update.
I don't think we have anything related to this in Zebra.
That's fine. We've all been coming back online this week as well. So
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
About
Zyno, I can
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Provide some context. This hasn't been officially confirmed as a task for me, but I've started looking at some of the rec test problems since the single folks just asked for a fresh environment and like a new set of eyes to look at the errors. And the problem is mostly located on the tooling, on the tooling side. So the development is ongoing, but given that the tests don't run reliably, it's harder to go in a more steady pace for them. And we don't have any evidence that it's actually a Zebra problem or a Zebra rec test problem. This is not a production issue at all. Everything is like testing environment, and the problem is that the testing environment is kind of complex. And that maybe there's where it resides, the main problem, I guess. And so we're trying to debug things. They're trying to see what's the source of the issue, and then if there's anything that is to be reported to the Zebra rec test part of the node, it will be done. But we don't have any evidence that it is actually. There are too many moving parts, like 2 or 3 moving parts that could be the source of the problem, that we don't have any assurances to actually report an issue and don't make you folks waste any time. But if you feel like it, hey, I want to just make it a go and see where it takes me, so you're totally welcome to scratch an itch and test things out there or try to reproduce the issues.
Marek?
Regarding rec test and Zeno, there's a consensus rule that prohibits transactions that spend Coinbase outputs to have transparent outputs, and Zcash allows such transactions on RegTest, and we merged a PR that allows these transactions as well. And today I noticed that there's another consensus rule that Zcash also likely breaks on RegTest, and that is spending Coinbase outputs in transactions that are less than 100 blocks away from the Coinbase transaction. And we didn't implement this yet. So I know that Zeno had issues with this on RegTest. So one part is solved. And now I'm not sure if we also have to implement or like change the other consensus rule as well. But at least part of the original problem is solved.
Yeah, I recall having issues on RegTest because I didn't know of that such limitation, and like my tests were failing. But I guess like the right thing is that you can't spend the Coinbase, right? Which is the right, like the correct implementation for that, or maybe it's something that is worth disabling, but I don't know what's the spirit of RegTest. Whether we want a super faithful RegTest in terms of consensus rules, or most of them, or what we want to do with that.
Yeah. The issue was that some Zeno tests couldn't spend Coinbase transactions on RegTest, so we're working towards having that functionality only in RegTest.
Okay. Cool. Okay, I will check those things and see if some of the folks can join. But yeah, thanks. I'll have that in mind. It's pretty useful.
Okay. So we don't have anyone to give an update on the CLI wallet, I guess. So if so, we should probably move on. I think if people join later on, we can sit back and talk about those things. So next up is the research and implementation updates, starting with Frost. Conrado, do you want to give us an update on that?
Yep, sure. We've been working on adding support for running the DKG, which is a distributed key generation for Frost, using the Frost server that it's mostly done. So we finished that. The only missing piece is using a broadcast channel, which is something that is required for security reasons, but it's not super complicated, so we're working on that. And that's the last part, the last thing we need. We're going to do an audit. There's still not, like, we haven't defined the start date for it yet, but it's going to happen soon. And yeah, we finish this thing, and before the audit starts, we probably just, there's always cleanups to do, refactors to do, just to improve the code clarity and documentation. But that's it. So yeah.
Great. Thank you, Conrado. Any questions for Conrado? Okay. And yeah, when the audit is done, we would like to ask for developers to start trying to integrate this, and we're happy to help out with that if people are trying it and it's not working well. Okay, next up is trailing finality layer and crosslink. Who can talk about that today?
I can talk about it.
Hey, go ahead, Suko.
But I don't have anything to report. I'm just getting back into work from vacation. Ask me next time.
Okay, fair enough. I think a lot of us are in that situation. Okay, let's move on then.
Well, Nate might have something to report, or Jason. I don't know.
Let's see. I'm also getting back from vacation. The latest bits I've been playing with is just playing around with Zebra, so running tests locally and attempting to replicate the CI that the Zebra team uses upstream. And I'm wondering if that's too heavy weight for us right now. So I'm considering just replacing it with a super simple thing that just runs cargo test for now, which I think excludes, a bunch of integration testing, but that might be good enough for the beginning of the prototype. So that's my current thinking.
Okay.
And then one thing I'll add to that is on hiring. We've been making progress. We have 2 offers out there right now. So hopefully we'll get a couple engineers started by February 1st.
Great. Good luck with that. Cool. Anything else on this? Or we can move on to NSM. Do you think it's you, Jason? No, or maybe Paul?
Yep, I can start off. So yeah, like Nate and Zuko said, things have been slow because of the holidays, but I do have a couple updates. Give me 1 second. I'm having like a coughing fit. Okay, so first off, Chris mentioned on the forum that zip 233, for zip 233, it's important to be clear whether burning permanently reduces the supply to be below the 21 million cap. So I proposed an edit to zip 233 that basically states that burning ZAC through it or other means reduces the total supply of ZAC below the 21 million cap, but the intention of zip 234 is to introduce a mechanism that allows ZAC to be systematically issued in future block rewards. So, excuse me. The point that we're trying to make here is that there's no direct relationship between the coins that have been burned and the new coins issued, and we want to get away from this idea of talking about ZEC as being reissued. So the point is that if ZIP 234 or a similar mechanism doesn't get implemented into the protocol, but something like ZIP 233 does, and there's other ways to burn ZEC as well, then burning ZEC would result in a permanent reduction in the total supply below 21 million. So we made the comment in GitHub for that edit, and we're just waiting to hear back from the zip editors. So I just want to make sure that that was seen. Okay, I can follow up with Chris about that or Darema. And then second, I started a conversation about zip 234 on the forum yesterday. I used the opportunity to respond to the alternative proposal that preserves halvings that Conrado put forward, and then ask the community for feedback on zip 234 generally, and also, their view on sort of the importance of halvings as part of the issuance schedule. I can post a link to that here in the chat if you haven't had a chance to read it, but you can let me know your thoughts. And then I saw, excuse me, I saw Conrado's response this morning, and I think that, in the new version, the only thing that is relevant is the money reserve, and Paul can talk a little bit about that if he wants to. But yeah, I can paste a link to the updated version of zip 234 that's in the repository, because I think you're citing the previous version of the Zcash Sustainability Fund.
Yeah, I mean, I could just point out, I think the main difference is that in the proposal, the alternative proposal, they're suggesting that it's about what's being tracked, right? I think the only misunderstanding is that under the current implementation, we don't track anything new. We just use the existing chain value and subtract that from max money, and that gives us the money reserve. And the issuance calculation is based on that. So there's no tracking of any deposits or anything like that in our current implementation.
Dodger, you wanted to say something, and then Conrado, I guess, wants to respond.
I'll let Conrad go first.
Yeah, yes. I'm a bit confused. I need to think about it, but I think you need to keep, I mean, the deposits using the NSM deposit field. I forgot the name. You need to keep track of those, right? So you need to keep track of something. Am I missing
No,
that? Go ahead.
there was a previous iteration of the implementation that
Okay.
used the deposits term, but we threw that away. We're not using deposits as a concept anymore. We're just burning. So we just burn funds, and that will naturally reduce the value, the total value of the chain. So chain value is a value that's tracked across all the value pools. And when you burn ZEC, then one of the pool values will go down, like probably the transparent pool. So if you add up all of the pool values and subtract that from max money, that gives you the total amount of money in the money reserve, which is sort of the difference between the current chain value and the 21 the 21 million cap. And that's what we're using in our calculation.
But if you subtracting, say, from the transparent pool, then you need to keep track of the things you're subtracting, right? Because currently the transparent pool, the size of transparent pool is the sum of all the deposits into the transparent pool minus the money spent from it. But if you want to burn using that pool, then you need to keep track of everything that's burned from the pool or not. Sorry, I need to think about it.
Yeah, well, a
Yeah.
burn just behaves exactly the same as a transparent input.
Yeah, I see.
Or any input, really. Basically, the input goes away in exactly the same way as it normally would, but there's no corresponding output. So the funds just disappear from the chain.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
So Jason, you suggested that zip 233 may be implemented without the other zips being implemented, but that's the first I've heard that suggestion.
No, that's not. It's not. It's that we're treating these as three individual zips, three individual implementations. But one of the things that we've talked to, look, I guess what I'm saying is more like our intention is to implement all three zips. But the way that the conversation has gone on these calls and on the forum is that, oh, well, maybe we'll only be able to get zip 233 in, right? So I'm sort of going with that. Yes, the intention is for the NSM as a whole to be implemented, but in terms of NU7, like that's questionable.
Okay. So the intention is that all the zips will be implemented. So any ZEC that is withdrawn from circulation via the NSM mechanism will eventually be returned to circulation, correct?
Yeah, so we're trying to get away from talking about as return to circulation, but it's more
But why?
so ZEC is burned and then new ZEC is reissued up into the cap of 21 million in a systematic way.
Well, why? I mean, I seem to recall there being feedback from multiple sources, including me, that the term "burnt" implies that the coins are being withdrawn from circulation permanently and it's not and it would not be possible to return them, and suggesting that a different terminology is adopted. So why are you continuing to use that term?
Nate, do you want to chime in? I see you have your hand up.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, my thinking on why using that term is it just seems kind of standard. So that's what I believe they refer to in Ethereum when fees are burnt for the for EIP 1559, but then new issuance counteracts that. The other piece was there's a little bit of subtlety because Like the definition we prefer is for NSM, the issuance is just based on the difference between the cap and the current supply. And what that means is anything that reduces the supply, any kind of burn is accounted for. So the mechanism in, I think it's 233, that just allows an explicit way to do this, but there's already implicit ways to do burns. Like, I don't know if this has been patched yet, but miners can not claim all of the new issuance that's due to them. And I've heard that referred to as burning that ZEC. Or if there were transfers to like the all zero address or like a known way to brick funds, that might be considered burning. So yeah,
But so
burn.
with Ethereum, the burning of fees and the fact that there's an uncapped issuance, you know, mechanism is entirely, they're two entirely separate pieces of the Ethereum protocol. The new issuance of Ethereum isn't in any way impacted by the burning of ETH of Ether due to fees. Whereas with this mechanism, there is a direct link between the number of coins that are withdrawn from circulation using NSM and the potential increase in issuance using those coins. So what I'm trying to understand is why there's this insistence on using the term burn when it's not the way that term is used elsewhere in the crypto ecosystem, and it risks misleading people into thinking that those coins are permanently withdrawn, reducing the 21 million cap.
I mean, if I could just respond quickly, I'm not particularly attached to burn. I just think that's the common terminology.
Yeah, I think.
But it's terminology for something else. It's not for what the NSM does.
But it's, well, I don't know. I think it's just it's somewhat ambiguous how people use words. Like, yes, if you burn fees in Ethereum transactions, people say they're burnt, but then new Ethereum is going to be issued in the future.
But like I said, those two things are totally disconnected.
Just try
the burnt fees. The burnt fees don't go into a pot that get reissued.
I guess what would be helpful here.
Care. Well, I personally don't care to tell people what words to use. I just want to pick whatever words are likely to be used.
Yeah, so like the point that I want to make here is the reason that we changed this was because there was a lot of confusion when we were talking about the Zcash Sustainability Fund as a thing, something that you make deposits into, something that's tracked separately, something that is put into future disbursements, right? So what we tried to do is get away from that. And the thing that seemed most reasonable based on what other cryptocurrencies is this idea of burning and then issuing, right? So we're really just trying to simplify it. Now, a lot of people have said, I don't like the term burning, but nobody has suggested an alternative for us to consider. So like, if you can think of something that, like, the important thing here is nothing under the hood is changing. We're just talking about how to conceptually think about the NSM, right? So if somebody wants to suggest another term other than burning, then I think that's something that we can consider.
So I think withdrawn from circulation or unissued,
right,
donated to the network security mechanism. I think there's a whole load of terms that could be used that would be far less likely to lead a casual observer or a casual reader to believe that those funds are that any funds that are burnt would permanently reduce the 21 million ZEC supply cap.
Let's try to go ahead because he's had his hand up for a while, and then maybe Suko if he still wants to speak.
Thanks. trying to remember what I put my hand up for. Part of it overlapped with the discussion that's just been had. I can't remember the other part of it. But on the part that's just been had, the thing that, DC in chat just noted something that essentially is the point that one of the points I was going to make, which is that whether or not you or users think of burn as permanent or not, the thing that matters is whether it is having an effect on the circulating supply or the maximum supply. And the circulating supply is the case for Ethereum. That is the effect that it has on that. It is the way I think of it from Ethereum perspective is it does have an effect on Ethereum's equivalent of the maximum supply, but only because Ethereum is infinitely uncapped. It does not have a maximum supply. What it's doing is it's shifting the curve leftwards, to later in time. So creating discontinuity from that perspective. But it will still continue to go to infinity if left unchecked. Whereas in the case of Bitcoin, Zcash, anything else that has a fixed maximum cap, a burn that affects maximum supply is a concrete step, constraining step downwards. That currently, for the examples that Nate gave of like setting the zero address or the miners not claiming funds, which was fixed, by the way, in NU 6, fixed that the Coinbase transactions are now required to exactly balance. So if a miner accidentally doesn't claim everything, then their Coinbase transaction will be rejected now. But yeah, the distinction that I think matters here to make in the zip, and this is something that I think Chris also pointed out in the forum end of last year and several times before that, is whether or not the intention for the NSM is to affect circulating supply or maximum supply. And that's the thing I don't particularly care. The zip editors have suggested words previously to the NSM authors. Those were rejected at the time, and I don't particularly care whether or not we keep the terms as is or not. What needs to be clear to users is whether or not it is intended for this mechanism to affect maximum supply.
And with DC saying with Bitcoin, when you talk about burning Bitcoin, it affects the total supply, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because there is zero mechanism for altering the issuance curve. The NSM is a mechanism for altering the issuance curve. If Bitcoin had something like it, then you would be able to express burns that only affect circulating supply. The act of adding something like the NSM effectively is moving Zcash from being purely Bitcoin-like to something that is sort of a midpoint between Bitcoin and Ethereum, because it still has a maximum supply, unlike Ethereum, but it enables burns that only affect circulating supply. Which the way I described it in a previous Arborist call, I think, was like, you can think of it in a sense as paying for future security, because you are effectively deferring current issuance to be reissued or issued at a future time, necessarily altering the issuance curve, which is something that Bitcoin does not have, and therefore all burns in Bitcoin necessarily always affect maximum supply, not circulating supply.
Suko?
Those are good points, Fred. I was just going to comment that a good way to measure intention is whether the consensus rule has been integrated and deployed and activated worldwide. Like 235 or whatever the number is makes it so that the supply of ZEC always approaches 21 million and never exceeds it. If 235 is going into a network upgrade, then I think it's fair to tell people that's the intention. But if it's not, and we're intending to deploy 235 in the future, then I don't know if it's fair to say that's the intention of Zcash. You know what I'm saying?
So so we're all clear on how the NSM is intended to work. In terms of the terminology that we use, is that something that we need to figure out like immediately, or is that something that we can sort of flesh out in the coming months?
I think the issue, like to my mind, the issue is that if it's currently phrased in a way that is likely to mislead members of the community, then I think that's a problem.
But I don't think it's phrased in a way to mislead members of the community, because even if you go back to your description in your pull or the description on our website, like it is clear that ZEC is burned and then issued into future block rewards. Like there's something like circular happening, right? Like it's not just permanently burned and the supply cap is permanently reduced. Nowhere does it say that.
So why not just use a different term that is less likely to cause confusion? Because a casual reader who doesn't pay close attention to the details, I fear, is likely to think that, oh great, this is going to reduce the 21 million ZEC cap. If this happens, this is a great idea. It's going to increase the the economics will increase the value of ZEC, and I think that is misleading them.
Yeah. So are you saying something like withdraw from circulation isn't ambiguous? Because that's
Yeah,
sort of like, I wouldn't know what to think if I heard that as a casual Zcash holder, right? What does that mean? It sort of sounds like it's being removed from circulation. So how do I know that it doesn't like impact
but at least
the total
then
supply?
you're triggered to go and find out um, exactly what it means.
I want to see the word that Chris suggested because it's in his post.
While Jason's doing that, can I just jump in and say, like, burning ZEC would increase the value of circulating ZEC. Like, that would be the economic impact, right? Like, it might be that it will come back again later, eventually, in like 100 years, but burning ZEC now will have a deflationary effect on the existing chain.
But only temporarily, because it's going to be reissued.
Temporarily for like the next several hundred years.
I think the issue is that anybody who owns, let's say I own 21 ZEC today. I've got 21 ZEC in my wallet. I can have confidence today that that 21 ZEC represents 1/1,000,000th of the maximum supply of ZEC that will ever be issued. I know that if coins are burnt by sending them to a burn address or some other kind of unofficial mechanism, I know that that reduces that 21 million max supply, because those coins can't be returned to circulation. The question is, will the average Zcash user understand that NSM's use of the term burn does not equate to the way that other that the crypto ecosystem in general uses the term burn?
I think so long as it's clear that the maximum supply is 21 million coins, then yes. Like when you go to coinmarketcap.com and you look at the total supply, it's always going to say 21 million. It's not going to account for burns and say, okay, 24,999. Or I'm sorry, 2999.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I follow your logic there. In any case, what was it that Chris suggested?
He used the word retraction.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Is there any more discussion on this item, or should we move on? I guess let's move on. Okay, so next up is Zcash shielded assets. Vivek, do you have an update?
Yeah, hi everyone. So yeah, in the last month or so, we've worked on a bunch of things. So on the zip side, we wanted to update that I think we are ready for the next round of the zip editor review on our upstream pull request. We resolved the open issues that are there on the repository. We made some consensus rule, like we rewrote it so that it matches how things are written in the spec PDF. We've added action groups, we've added reference notes, and the computation of the row field for issue notes, along with various other relevant changes alongside. So yeah, whenever the next zip editors meeting is, if that can be added to the agenda, that will be nice. I've posted it on the Discord in the appropriate channel, so that should be that. We've been making the implementation changes for these zip updates as well in Orchard, Libra, Zcash. We've also updated the test vectors so that like I'm merging those things into Libra, Zcash, and like getting that ready as well. Let's see, we've been working on Zebra as well. We've been, I think, trying to reduce some duplication of code between Orchard and Zebra along the way. We've been working on asset state management and again, making the zip changes I mentioned wherever they are relevant. We are also, I guess, yeah, one thing that happened in the last month was that we gave a demo in a community call just before the holidays. So like if someone's not seen that, definitely check it out. It's on YouTube in the Zcash Foundation channel. We also, like based on that demo, the same sort of functionality, we think we are pretty much ready with the first testnet that like I think it uses like GitHub Actions, and it seems pretty simple to just take that and use that to run the things you want yourself. So I think, I don't know, I think we're just figuring out some of the final things, and then we'll post when that's ready as well. So besides that, we got an audit report from Least Authority that was generally positive, and I think some suggestions that are there, we want to just run those by ECC before we finalize all that stuff. Yeah, that's for ZSAs. Then we've also, like on the asset swap side, we've completed a good portion of the implementation changes for Libra Zcash. Orchard changes were done in the last update. And I think like, yeah, the zips right now are not like the ZSA zips have moved a bit ahead, and accordingly the asset swap zips need to be changed accordingly. That's not done yet. So I'll be working on that in the coming weeks. Yeah, also for the user control and like the transaction acceptance stuff, we had prepared designs in a document or in a forum post last time. And we have also made a draft zip with those, like what changes would be required from like, like in the protocol side of things. That's like, I think it's still an internal pull request. It's not too upstream yet, but that's there. And I guess maybe Jason will mention it for like the ZCG side of things, but we also submitted a grant proposal for like some support for the work that we've been doing and will be doing in the coming months for getting the ZSAs ready and developed. So just wanted to bring that to everyone's notice as well. Yeah, that's what I have for now.
Thank you, Vivek. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Vivek? Okay, let's move on then. The next item on the list is NU7. I know last time we didn't have time, we didn't have a lot of time to discuss it. I'm not sure, I had to drop off before the end of the call, so I'm not exactly sure whether there was any conclusion reached, but is there anyone that wants to kick off this discussion on NU7? And I guess possibly what should be included or how we're going to be deciding what we want to add to NU7. Jason, do you want to start off?
Yeah, so where we left off was, I think Dodger was originally going to possibly pull, with the ZCG pull, and it sounds like that got deferred to mid to late January. So we made progress on like how to phrase the questions. All that was handled transparently. And I guess the question that now comes up, where we're talking about the terminology used in the NSM, is, are we okay with the language that we loosely agreed on, or we had considered, or do we now need to go and amend that? Again, my position is the way that it's laid out, it's clear that there is no like permanent burning, like that the intention is to reissue it in future block rewards.
I think you should go away and have a think about an alternative term.
Okay.
Do we have any updates on the poll and what the likely timing is for that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Any other thoughts, comments, discussion on NU7? I think it will be important to see the results of the poll, see what the community thinks we should prioritize. If we are not able to get everything into NU7, or if we think that the complexity budget is exceeded, but I guess that will have to come after the poll results. Okay, seems like there's not last chance, I guess, to bring anything else up about NU7.
I think the only thing I'll mention is from the zip editor side, we'll be restarting our meeting, per our schedule, the first zip editor meeting of this year is meant to be next week, although that does coincide with the ZECC summit. So we'll figure out whether timing, whether we do it that week or shift it a week or something. And so I think the main next thing that we needing to work on, besides further review of any non-semantic changes to the candidate zips and the previously discussed potential semantic changes to the ZSA zips around action groups. The other thing that will be kicking off there is defining the V6 transaction format and signature hash. So that'll be starting the zip editor discussion in the next next week or the week after, depending on when we schedule that for.
Okay, thank you, Stretch. Anything else on this? Okay, let's move on. Open announcements. Does anyone have any news or announcements that they'd like to share Please raise your hand. I think there might be a deadline for the next CCon this weekend. I don't know if Elise or someone. Oh, go ahead, Strat. Strat, you've got your hand raised. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry, I realized I was going to go after you, but so if you're
No,
done.
that's it. I think
Yeah.
the RFP deadline for CCon 6 is this Sunday. So if you want to submit a talk, please do so by this Sunday. Close of business. Go ahead, Strat.
Yep. Zcash D 610 was released last week. And there was over the weekend the builds run. So it was effectively the builds were already by the beginning of this week. And 600 reaches end of support just under 2 weeks from now. So if you're running a Zcash D node, make sure, and if you're running a Zcash D node built by ECC, make sure you update prior to then. Yeah, I think that's it.
Great.
We're going to have another release out in the near future, just as near as we can manage to get it implemented. A 620 release that will have the flags to enable deprecating IPC methods and things. We didn't have time to get that into 610, so 610 was just essentially a maintenance release, but we'll pull those into 620.
Sure. Okay. There's been a suggestion that since we skipped the ECC updates and the CLI wallet updates for the Zcash deprecation, maybe we can do them now since we have some time. I don't know if you want to talk a bit about that, Strat.
Oh yeah, I can jump into that quickly. Sorry, the Arborist Call calendar events completely disappeared from my calendar in 2025, so I don't know what happened there. So yeah, well, obviously it's been the holidays this last patch, so we've been a little bit reduced capacity there. But the main things have been since the Keystone related work got out in Zashi just before Christmas. And so there's been a couple of bug fixes related to that coming in since then. Chris spent time working on support in the Zcash Rust crates for transparent gap limit scanning. So we already had some gap limit logic for specifically for use around the ephemeral addresses used for ZIP320, and so this rewrites that and expands it to support just general transparent address gap limit handling, which should mean, I'm in the process of reviewing it now, but it should mean that this will enable people to import like transparent only seed phrases into a Zcash client based wallet, such as Zashi or any of the other ones built from the SDKs. That is able to then find all of the existing transparent funds and then, for shielding purposes. In particular, I believe the ledger-based seed phrases that some people have been attempting to import into Keystone devices have been missing funds because we currently only look at the first transparent address. So that's ongoing work to make that use case viable, at least at the library layer. And then I've also been chasing down yet more bugs in the way that the note commitment trees work. If you've seen the entry missing at address 1 index blah bug in any of your wallets, that we fixed a large part of that mid last year, like 6 months ago. But there's a weird edge case that a couple of people are running into. So I'm attempting to find that, and if I can't find that, I'm just going to write some code to forcibly work around it, which it didn't have time to do last year, but I think I would just like that to exist. Yeah, and I think that's everything that we've mainly been doing the last couple of weeks. The
Anything
Zcash
the CLI
dev tool.
wallet?
So the what was called Zscash CLI, which we announced, I think, at the previous Arborist call or one of those ones, was finally open sourced after I'd done some security work on it. We've renamed that to Zcash Dev Tool. So that's at Zcash, github.com, Zcash Dev Tool, and we've pulled in the old Zcash Inspect tool that used to live in Zcash D, and then we moved to the Rust crates, and it now lives in there. So that's now sort of intended as a central place for developers of wallets, essentially, to be a multi-tool for working on things there. So as I've mentioned previously, that's where like the PZZT stuff is currently is. It essentially implements a base CLI wallet, but very bare bones. The new one that we mentioned at the end of last year, we didn't make any. There's been no change on that across the holiday period. No.
Okay, great. Thank you, Strat. Any other ECC updates on that? And then I'll move back to the open announcements.
Nothing that comes to mind.
Okay, so I guess we can maybe move on to the open discussion then. Well, before that, any other open announcements or news that anyone wants to share? Okay, any other discussion topics for today? Okay, last chance. Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, I just, on the spur of the moment from the discussion about terminology, made a poll on X. So if you're into X, you could contribute to that poll.
Okay, thank you, Nate. Last chance for anyone else to open any other items for discussion. Let's leave it there then. Thank you everyone for joining today. The next Arborist call will be on Thursday, January 23rd at the later time of 21 UTC. See you then. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.